Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to the Evil Dungeon Master Universe podcast. I am your host, the Evil Dungeon Master Vince, and today we have a wonderful show for you, and everything is going pretty good. I just want to say thank you for those that have just rated me on Spotify. We're getting closer to 70 reviews on Spotify. We're about a couple away, so if you have Spotify on your phone or on your computer, I think it has to be on the phone, though, so head on over there and give me a 5-star review, and we'll get closer to 70 together and take this podcast into new heights. Ask the DM at theevildm.com is where you can contact me for questions and comments. Facebook.com/theevildungeonmaster as well. You can hit me up on Twitter at theevildm, and we can talk about things there. Pretty active on Twitter, Facebook, and sometimes email, depending. Today I got a question from Cornelius Prax. He says, a couple of years ago, after 30-plus years of off from gaming, I was attempting to run a game for the first time. Let me just make this a little bigger so I can read it. It was just with 2 players, an attempt to get myself more comfortable before adding others to the mix. I was following a detailed story, and after a while realized that I had a problem with railroading. Ooh, okay. I know most modules and pre-written stories usually have a how to get back on track section to help you pull them back, but other than that, are there any tips for an inexperienced GM on how to let things happen naturally instead of awkwardly forcing the characters to follow what is written? Good question. Very good question, because with pre-written modules, obviously you have to follow the storyline because it's a linear storyline, and generally they don't give you a lot of leeway. Especially the older modules don't give you a lot of, sandboxy feel. I noticed that with like newer games like Pathfinder and 5e, they do a little bit more hand-holding, but they give you a little bit more freedom to let the party kind of choose what they want to do. Generally what I would do, and I'm not really a module runner myself, I kind of just jot down ideas for what I want to get done in the session. Overall, I have an idea of what the whole campaign's about, what I want them to do, and where they are at the time is kind of what I base everything off of. And not all the time are you going to get your party, well, depending on what game, your party to go where you want them to go, because people will go where they want to go. And sometimes players will be difficult and they don't want to go your storyline. So you're just basically going to have to come up with something along the lines that'll make them interested in what's going on. Now, if I'm following a module, which I really don't, so sorry about that, but if we're following a module and the players aren't biting on what it is, sometimes I'll just have to make up a side story and get them involved in that side story, and then somehow bring them in from the side story into the actual main campaign. So maybe if they are questing to find a magical rock, for example, and you keep trying to get them to get on this quest for the magical rock, and they're just like, nah, we don't care about the magical rock. So maybe what you do is when they're at the tavern, you have, say, a gnome or a halfling or somebody who's sneaky, like as a thief or something, steal something from the party members. Okay? Steal something from the party members and somehow gets away, because it's your NPC, you can do whatever the hell you want. They get away, and now they have to hunt down this person that stole something from the party. So maybe that, as a GM, and this is kind of twisting their hand a little bit, but not necessarily, you can do 2 things. One, have them find out information of who this person is, or what the person is part of, and have the players search him down and find him, and then as a reward, once they find him and get their stuff back, the person that they dispatch them to find this person can possibly give them information about the main part of the campaign and say, hey, can you do me a favor? Since I helped you out, why don't you help me out? I'm looking for this magical stone. I'm sure you heard about it. I will give you some type of reward. You could do that. Kind of persuade them into it for information. That's kind of a cheesy way to do it, but it does work a lot of the time. And I would do that, definitely. Unfortunately, with a module that's pre-written, it's kind of hard to bring people back on track when it comes to following a story. and players will do what players want to do. And I would think beforehand, you should tell your players in your group, hey, I'm running this module. Please don't give me a hard time. There is a story involved. Please try to follow the story involved. And don't give me flack. And mostly players will not give you flack anyway if you're running a module. They know it's pre-written. Unless they're brand new players and they're just trying to be funny or something, then they should really understand how to play. And it's not your fault that the story maybe sucks. It's pre-written and it's a module and you're just following it as a DM, but be prepared. Always have like side quests to do and this quest to do, and try to give them options. Like if the module wants you to go path A, have like mini path A, mini path B ready to go, because they may not want to go to path A. And then circle back around again and give them the option to do it. But always give the players the option where they can go and try to give them a couple options. And yeah, it's a lot of work for you as a DM to do a lot of extra things to do, but that's your job as a DM. Prepare things, get ready, try to figure things out. That's why I don't like running modules, because of the story I don't really care for half the time. Pre-written things aren't for me. That's why when I do in the campaign, I am a reactionary GM, not a pre-planned GM. The only thing I plan is NPCs, towns, and monsters, just in case for random fights. But I try to give the players options. I present different paths for them, let them pick, and then I run from there. And I guess that's because I've been running games for so long, I'm very used to improv, and improv has always been pretty good for me. I guess that's why solo role-playing is pretty fun for me, because I can improv pretty quickly what I want to do and where I want to go in the adventure. And try solo role-playing, because it'll give you a good idea how to randomly go somewhere when things go off track, because you don't know what's going to happen with solo RPG. It's all up to the emulator. It may go your way, it may not go your way. You may have to make up something along the way. But the only way to fix a party that doesn't want to go back on track for a module, you're going to have to figure out a way to track them back. And you don't have to force them, like I said, just give it a couple options, and always keep giving up that option of the magical stone and this and that. Maybe you can have them find a clue for the magical stone along the way while doing one of the side quests, which will maybe increase their intrigue of trying to go after this magical stone that's in there. That's something I would do. So they would have a side adventure to do, find the missing child. And then when they find the missing child, they find some information possibly in the, the castle, the cave, or something that leads them to a hint of where this magical stone might be. And they're like, well, we already have a clue, so maybe we should go do it and fulfill the reward. That might be a good idea. Increasing prices of gold and stuff like that in campaigns also will entice players, because they all want gold. If you're playing older editions, gold is worth quite a bit because of training and taxation in AD&D 1E especially. So there's just some ideas you can do that. And that's really the advice I have for that, as far as getting people back on track. It may not be the greatest advice, but that's what I would do as a DM, and I'm used to running homemade stuff. And that's the reason kind of why. I don't know. I've seen so many DMs struggle and I try not to annoy them, but when they run a pre-written module, and then I could see other players purposely not going that way because they're just trying to be a big dick. And sometimes the players just don't want to follow what the story is. But I don't know. As a player watching a DM struggle, I tried to bring the party in and be like, yeah, maybe we should go for that. Because I know this is what they prepared. This is what they read. This is what they spent an entire probably week doing. So talk to the players, make sure they know you're running a module, and to be cooperative somewhat. They don't have to do everything. But with that said, I'm going to head out. I want to say keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, God bless. And don't forget, no clickbait, no drama, all gaming here on this channel. Good night, everybody.